Hello guys, I hope you all doing good. Welcome to another video. Today we are going to solve a JavaScript interview question which was asked in Meta or Facebook's interview. So as you can see, we have to create the polyfill for the class names package. If you see, this was shared on LeetCode and the question was originally posted on April 15, 2024. So it's been more than a year around when it was asked, and it was asked for IC5 or E5 role, which is Senior Software Engineer at London location. So there are multiple questions asked in different rounds. If you can see, to clear all, set timeout, optimize a function that filters an object of arrays based on another object of arrays, and then implement array flat, find identical or corresponding node in two identical DOM tree, and then there was to implement class names in React and implement test and expect as in jest. So this is a library to test the code. Test and expect is the function, and the class name is a very popular React library which is used to dynamically add classes to React elements. So if you see, these are the different use cases of the class name, and if I read the usage, the class name function takes any number of argument which can be a string or object. The argument foo is short for foo true, and if the value associated with the given key is falsy, then that key won't be included in the output. So if you see the example, if foo and bar is there, then it will be joined together and returned as a single string foo bar. Here foo is a string, bar is the key in the object, but the value of the bar is true, so it is included in the class name foo and bar as a single string. Similarly here, for a single object, the key is foo hyphen bar, it is returned as a key because it is a truthy value. For falsy value, it is returned as an empty string. Similarly here, because both the objects has truthy value, so foo and bar is written as a single string concatenated on the space. Similarly here, if you see, we have foo as a string, bar it will be added to foo, then duck it will be ignored because it is a falsy value, baz will be added, and quux will also be added. So we get foo, bar, baz and quux. So if you see the examples, you will understand what you have to build. And here class name accepts null, null will be ignored, false will be ignored, bar will be added, undefined will be ignored, 0 will be ignored because 0 is also a falsy value. 1, because this is a truthy value and it is a number, it will be converted to string, so bar concatenated with 1 on a separate space, and then bars because its value is null, which is falsy value, so it will be ignored, and then empty string which is a falsy value which will be ignored, so we'll get bar and 1 as the final string. So bar and 1 as the class names. So this is what we have to create. Here you can see we can also pass an array and we get the output like this, B, C, D, N. So it will be ABC in the final string. So all these examples has to be passed when we are implementing this. Now coming back to the problem statement, we'll try to create or write the polyfill for the class name here. We'll code it. And as you can see, I have all the questions which was mentioned here in the question posted on LeetCode. All those are present over here. So if you are preparing for your front-end interviews and if you are looking for a resource where you can learn everything at a single place, do check out my course alpha.learnersbucket.com. I have everything that you need to prepare for your interview over here, and also you get the company-wise question sets so you can practice using the inbuilt code editor. Now coming back to the question, let's try to implement this. So as we have seen the problem statement, we have different examples. Let me copy this from here, all of this, or we'll test it one by one. Let me first create the implementation of the class names so that we can see if it is working properly or not. So let me create a function over here, function class names, and then this function, what it will do is it can accept any number of arguments. there is no limit, so it can be an array with n number of items, it can be any number of arguments. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a rest operator to collect everything in the form of array, all the arguments, and here I'll have an initial class. So we are going to have, we have to return a string and a string of classes concatenated on space. So I'm creating a string classes and we have to return these classes, and in between this we have to do processing. So the processing is we have to iterate over for let r of arguments, and each of this argument we have to check if the argument is truthy, then only it has to be added. So if r, which means it is a truthy value, then what we have to do is we have to get the new class. So by processing this argument we have to get the new class from it, and this class will be updated or appended with the existing class. So we'll have this method append classes, to which we'll pass the existing list of class and the new class, which will append it and return it, and then we'll reuse it in the loop. So we created the base class names function. Now let's create the append class function, and then we'll create the process arg. So here I'm creating, you can have the normal function, arrow function, whatever you want. So append class, and this will accept the existing class, existing classes, and the new class. And here we'll check if there is no new class, then return the existing classes, and otherwise if there is existing classes, so what we'll do is we'll concatenate existing classes with the space value with new class. Sorry, the save is not working over here. Let me drag this a little bit so that we have more space, and let me close this. So here we are appending the new class, and now we can add, otherwise we can return the new class itself. So if there is existing class, we'll concatenate with the new class and return the new string, otherwise we'll return the new class as it is if there are no existing classes. So our append class function is ready. Now let's create the process arg function process argument. It will return, it will accept the argument, and then it will process it based on the type of argument. So the first type is if type of r equals to string, so we'll return it as it is. Otherwise, if the type of r equals to number, then we'll return it converting it to the string. So basically I'm concatenating it with the empty string, and it will be converted to string, it will be typecasted. Now if you have read the library properly, it says that it should be either a string or object or number. So number is also object, array is also object, function is also object in JavaScript. So what we are going to do is we are going to add an additional check. So if type of r is not equals to object, then we'll return empty string. So because these are independent if condition, they are not nested, so that's why it's not making any conflict. If you want, you can have this base condition at the top as well. It's all up to you. Now if our argument is of type array, then what we are going to do is we are going to call the class names function, and we are going to spread the argument. So we are going to spread the array as argument to the class names classes. It will then process it further, call it recursively, process it further, and return the classes. Finally, we are going to again do the processing for the argument if it is type of object. So I'm creating another variable for the classes. Here I'll say let key in argument, and then if the argument has own property key, so we just want to check if the key belongs to the current hierarchy of the argument object. It should not be in the prototype chain. So if arg has own property key and arg key, which means the value of the key is truthy, it should not be false. So if those two conditions are meeting, what we are going to do is we are going to have a new class, we are going to recursively call the same function, and we are going to process the argument, and then in the classes we'll have append class and then classes and new class. So why we are passing this to process arg is because the JavaScript object can accept an array, function, anything as a key. So you are not aware what type of value it is. It's not like it will always be and string only. So that's why we are again passing this to the process arg function by recursively calling it, so that it can handle all the cases and accordingly return the class name. And then at the end we'll return the classes from it. So return classes. And now our append class is ready, our process arg is ready, and then our class name is also ready. So this is how you create the polyfill. And now let me call this class names with examples to test if it is working fine or not. So we'll check all the cases, console.log. Here I have the class names. Let's pass the first value foo and bar and see if it is working fine. So I'm passing foo and bar. It should return a single string with the foo and bar concatenated on the space. So if I run this, the log is not printed. Class names foo and bar. Let's check. Here I am returning the classes. We got the arguments, args. Let me see if we are inside this or we are reaching over here. So console.log here. Let me run this again. So we are reaching till here. Why we are not getting the classes? So let's console.log classes, and we'll have a string as well here, and we'll run this. So here is printed and we are getting an empty string over here. Now let's debug. If this is argument truthy, then what we are going to do is we are going to call the function process arg, then the classes will be passed to append class. Now in the append class, if there is no new class, then we return the existing classes, and if there is existing class, so we add the existing classes with the new class, otherwise we return the new class. So here, and if I come to this, if the type of arg is not equals to object, okay, so what's happening over here is this condition is conflicting with the string and number, because string and number are not objects. So we have to give priority to the string and object over here, and then we have to check for the object and its related further processing, which is array and object itself. So now if I run this, we should get the foo bar. See, we got the foo bar as a single string. And then let's try this one. So we got foo, and then we got bar as a value, so it should return foo bar again. Array is array, a capital, I think if of is array, a should be capital, it is, and array dot is array. The problem is we are passing the arg to the process arc, whereas we should be passing the key. That's why it's getting maximum call stack error. So if I change this and pass key over here, it should work fine. So you see we are getting the foo bar as output for this. So foo is the string and bar is the object. Now let's do a check for this one where all different types of values are passed. Let me copy this, Control C, and here to class names, let me pass it. So we have null, false, bar, undefined, 0, 1, baz, null, and empty string. It should return bar 1 as the final output. So if I run this, you see we get bar 1 as the output. Let's say if we pass this array, so let me copy this array, and here if I pass this array to the class name, it should return ABC as the final output. So if I run this, we got BC because B is the string, C is truth value, and D is false. If I make this as true, and if I run this, it should return BCD. So our implementation, our polyfill for class name is working fine. It's a simple yet tricky question to handle, majorly in the process arc section. As you have seen, when we changed the condition and when we added the check for the object at the top, it started to fail. So you should be careful while handling this. I hope you have learned something new today. If you have enjoyed the video, please give it a like, share it with your folks in your network. Thank you for your time.